Okay. So good morning to our limited number of people who are here today for our first President's briefing. We just thought it was a good opportunity to get in the building members so that they could meet both Peter and myself, and also to be able to ask questions directly face to face. But before we get started, there are some housekeeping things that I need to advise you of. Should there be any reason to evacuate the building, if you could please just go through the door to the left, follow alley, and there's a door out the back that takes you straight into the car park, and there's a meeting point at the main gate. If you need to use the bathrooms, we just need to let you go across you'd have to go across the foyer to the other side, where there's both male and female toilets. But one of us will need to let you across there because we need to get security to open the door. As you can see, we're now in our brand new offices, and if anybody wants to go upstairs and have a look at our offices, we can arrange for that to happen after our session today. But what we thought we would do with the President's briefing is to talk a little bit about what's been happening, and more particularly we'll talk about what we have planned for the new year, and I know that Peter's also going to talk about the strategic planning work that the board has been doing. But before we get underway, I just want to acknowledge that we meet on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains, and to pay our respects to their elders past and present. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship to the land, and we acknowledge that they are of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today. We also extend that respect to other Aboriginal language groups and other First Nations. So just to get things going, obviously I'm Christine, I'm the new CEO, and I started here in April. During that time, we've had quite a lot of change, quite a lot of renewal, quite a lot of thinking about the way that we've been offering services to our members. After their election in May, the new board, which had a considerable turnover, there were 4 new members, met on a couple of weekends to do some strategic planning workshops and to think about what was really important for the organisation going forward. Roughly speaking, the work of the board has now split into 3 main groups, which is services, advocacy and research, with a fourth group being the fundraising that underpins and enables all of those things to happen. So we have co-chairs for each of those focus groups. A number of them have met already, and I know that the services group has met. The co-chairs of that are Gloria, who's your other chair? The other chair that's Andrew. On? Andrew Hodge, another board member, and Gloria's here with us today, and she has been actively reviewing the current services schedule, consolidating some services, incorporating the additional cost to equipment that we regularly supply, so that we know what's involved in that particular service. I'm guessing, and preempting the conversation, but I'm guessing that we will also then be talking about, okay, so what are the other services that we will be looking to offer to members going forward? And that's probably the conversation for the next time that group meets. The advocacy group is led by Genevieve Hanley and Floyd Bullen-Nichols, and has yet to meet, but I think some of their thinking has already commenced in that area as well. For our, if you like, big picture Advocacy, of course, is focusing on the listing of Trikafta in conjunction with Cystic Fibrosis Australia. And we have our fingers crossed that might be something that gets the green light when the PBAC meets in December. But we've been here before, so let's not get too excited about it just yet. The final group, which is the research group, was originally led by Jerry Candelars, who's now resigned from the board, and Genevieve has taken over the role of the lead on the research component as well. And we met yesterday to have a bit of a conversation about, okay, so which direction is this going to go? So what I thought that I would talk about this morning was, what have we been doing all this time? It seems like there's a lot of silence coming from CFSA, and does that mean that there's nothing happening? Certainly does not mean that there's nothing happening. There's been quite a lot of change that we've had to accommodate. Well, as you can see, I'm not Julia, so there's a new CEO. The organisation had a period of about 6 months when in between CEOs. And then, and during that time was supported by Jerry Candelars, who worked as a volunteer interim CEO, and for that we thank Jerry, who was very diligent in making sure that the bills were paid on time, and that where there was the need for a CEO's contribution, that he was there to make that, and to also keep the staff feeling like we were moving forward. Following that, my appointment in April, the two staff who were there throughout that time, in Kathy Telfer and Carla Matusek, decided the time had come for them to retire. And they left the organisation within about 3 weeks of each other. And you shouldn't read too much into it, excepting that they were really tired and they thought it was time to retire, insofar as they gave plenty of notice and have indicated that should we need them to come in and visit us and help us with something that we don't know about, they're very happy to do that. And in fact, we had a consultation with Carla just last week around the memorial service, which is held at the end of the year, so that we could get a bit of a feel for how it had been conducted in the past, how many people we should expect, those sorts of logistic kind of issues. So they're still very much part of the CF family, and happy to be involved where we might need them. So we appreciate that. But of course it left two really big holes for us to fill. It also, though, created an opportunity to think about, well, how do we structure the organisation so that we can have the right resources in the right place. And shortly after that, we recruited Carolyn O'Grady, who is, if you ring the CFSA phone number, it's likely that the first person you'll hear is Carolyn. And if you're interested in ordering any of the equipment that CFSA subsidises, it's also likely that Carolyn will help you with that. The next spot that we filled was, it's a role that's roughly left vacant by Carla, but not entirely, because it's a little bit different. And that was filled by Alison Smith, and it might be a good time right now if I could just ask you ladies to just join me up here for the live stream as well, so that people can, put a name to a face. And I'm hoping that people who are listening remotely can actually see Carolyn and Alison. This is Carolyn. Carolyn, as I said, answers the phone, does some work in our accounts sort of function, and also processes and places orders on your behalf, and then follows up to make sure that A, that that's gone through, and B, that the equipment's going to be delivered to you at home. So, Carolyn. And Alison is over here. Alison is taking on a role which we're loosely calling membership and donors. So she's the person who will be talking with you direct, calling you to say hi. And I understand that between now and the end of the year, they have an ambitious plan to give you all a call and just try and catch up, check that we've got the right details, make sure that your email is in fact your email, and that you haven't moved house and forgotten that we need to know that if we had to keep our records up to date. So hopefully in the next little while you'll be hearing from either Carolyn or Alison. And as I say, they tell me they're going to do that by Christmas, and I'm thinking ambitious, but a worthy ambition nonetheless.
We'll get it done.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now you know who's sitting in that office space. Of course, David is still here. David, you just want to stand here for a minute? David, who many of you would have met before, is still with us and manages our website and our social media. And during the recent 65 Roses ball at home, was managing the online auction websites and processes. So that was a very big job for him during that time too. So this is David. So we're a group of 4, and the Rose report, which is about to be distributed to everyone, will give you the data around who's in the office and when, if you want to call us. Everybody, perhaps except myself and Carolyn, so David and Alison are working part-time, so you might want to bear that in mind when you choose which day to give a call. So our strategic plan. Thus far, the board has met twice to participate in some workshops about what really matters to them. And I think that those have been really sort of productive conversations that a board needs to have with itself, if you like. I was happy to be there and to be party to it, but it was interesting to hear how the board organised what they thought was important for the organisation and to them going forward in terms of activities, and also to think about whether it's more of the same or it's something different. I have to say there's quite a lot of more of the same, so there's not a lot of interest in or appetite in doing things completely differently, which kind of indicates that the organisation is kind of doing mostly the right things. Members seem to be really appreciative of the services, for example, that they have access to, the subsidies that they have access to, and we anticipate between now and the end of the year people will be sending us in their receipts so that they can finalise that before we change into the new year, because our new year starts in January. So the next stage is to put that framework, if you like, into some sort of documentation, and to talk with our members about, okay, so this is what we think, what do you think, and to get some feedback from them as well. We've been, like most charities, I think, struggling with our fundraising where it involves events. So, you know, the ball was not really the ball, it was a different kind of structure. Although I have to say, one of the things that I've been impressed by since I've been here is to get a phone call from someone that says, I have this great idea to raise funds. I've got 16 people coming over on the weekend, but now it's 12. And so we're doing it remotely, and we're having dinner at home, but half of them are coming by Zoom. Just the amount of energy amongst the members to raise funds and to hold dinners, and the people that used to turn up at our Sturt Street office with 3 cans full of coins, to just bring them in, and have you got 3 more tins? I go, yes, I've got 3 more tins. Got to the point where we actually had to order some more tins. So tins are still out there on counters in businesses, in fish and chip shops and libraries and places like that. and they're still coming back to us full. So I was quite surprised at that, because a lot of the donations now, of course, are coming in electronically. So, but still, we're getting the coins, and we're still happy to get your coins and relieve you of those pesky things that make holes in the pockets of your pants, because, as I say, a couple of coins added to a couple of coins added to a couple of coins all adds up. We've had other sorts of fundraisers that largely have been run by other people and not by CFSA directly. The 65 Roses Ball is a really good example of that. There were a number of dinners that were held and supervised and organised by other people, and which raised a considerable amount of money as part of that campaign. So we'd just like to acknowledge the inordinate amount of hard work that went into getting those events organised. As I say, with very little need for CFSA to be directly involved. So thank you very much to the people who took on those tasks. Then there were the school children and the school teachers that did Crazy Hair Day. Then there were the couple of year 9s that called me up and said, you know, we've got this opportunity to raise funds and we'd like to do it for CF. Can we? And ended up raising just under $1,000. So we really appreciate the input that the community, even actually beyond the community, have put into helping us through what's been a very difficult time for, as I say, all charities. We're not on our own there. But hopefully, fingers crossed, in 2022, we'll be able to see our way forward, although I guess that still remains to be a little bit uncertain too. Between now and the end of the year, there are two further important events for us, and that is, first of all, we are doing the Socket to CF campaign, which is all about socks. And I can tell you that most of the people in my family are getting red socks for Christmas. I don't know about yours, but the red socks are on order already. We'll have some publicity about how you can order your red socks and support CFSA through the national body. The other event that's happening is the Great Strides, where people are forming their own groups and running or undertaking tasks that they can raise funds against, and so we acknowledge them as well. I think that was coming up this week or next week, David?
It's been ongoing.
Yeah, so I know that we've got a group of people down at Henley Beach who are taking on that event. But the final but very important event that we've been able to now secure a date for is the Time of Remembrance, which is the annual memorial service, and you'll start to get information about that shortly after today's event. To let you know where it is, we've managed to secure the Gardens in Government House to hold that, and if you would like to attend that, then just let us know so that we can make sure that we've got the catering right. That's a bit of a mystery to us. We kind of think it's about 60, but we're sort of, all three of us, new to doing the task, and so we're relying on people who've been there before to let us know, yes, that's about the right number of people. So if you want to attend that function, and you'll be very welcome, please just let us know you're coming so that we can make sure that we've got a cup of tea waiting for you. Now, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to just hand over to our President, Peter Summers, and before I do, I just want to acknowledge that with us today is another board member in Gloria Lancioni. Gloria has
joined the board only
last month.
Yeah, last month. is Dr. Carl Aitken, and Dr. Carl Aitken is a pastor, but has a long history of working in the Children's Hospital, and he's agreed to join the board in a vacant position that we have, and he's a long experienced board member. I think he'll add some real value to the board as well. It's been a pretty difficult year for everyone, and also for CFSA, but I'm sure that we're going to improve next year. Things will get easier, but it's the future that we're looking towards, not the past. I think moving here has given everyone a bit of a lift, helping us feel as though we're modern and moving forward. The facility here has been really helpful. These rooms, for example, we don't have to pay any additional money. We only pay for our area that we lease upstairs, and we've got boardrooms and so forth. They've even provided TVs for our meeting and so forth in the meeting rooms that we can use. So they've been very, very helpful and supportive, and we're very grateful, I think, to be here, and particularly as the building we're in was really not fit for purpose any longer. So I'm very glad we're here. The government subsidies in 2020 helped us get through quite well, but of course they disappeared in 2021 to a large degree, with only a small amount. But fundraising has to be an important part of where we're going. My perception was that our fundraising was mostly through members and friends predominantly. We're looking more strategically at that now and looking outside of asking just our members and friends to support the organisation, and we're moving out, and we've identified 4 areas of fundraising that we are going to explore, some of which we'll pursue. I don't think Gloria knows it yet, but she's really targeted for one of those areas in particular. So because of her knowledge and so forth, so I think we are looking at that very carefully. Services, Gloria's done a review of those, and we're working on those. We're probably combining some, and we're also looking to see if we can raise some funds to provide some other services that we haven't done in the past. So we're certainly moving forward in that area. We're re-evaluating everything we've done basically, and saying, what do we need to change? What can we add to it? Is there something better that we can do? And as Christine said, we'll be coming out to the members very shortly and asking what your ideas are and what you suggest that you'd like us to provide for you. I think services and advocacy are the 2 very important areas for us. I'm not saying research isn't, research is, but we're not good at research. We don't have the expertise in-house to do it, and because of that, we will work with CFSA, and our appointment to that, I think, a new appointment to that will be very helpful in that area. We also, I've made contact with Cure for CF. The president's had lunch, we've had lunch together, and we've agreed to meet every 3 months. Now, I don't know how that works or how that will pan out in the longer term, but at least we've created a dialogue, and we've agreed that we need to talk to one another and see what we can do that would be helpful for the community. So that's already happened. In fact, I talked to him just last Friday, and we're probably going to have lunch again before Christmas with a bit of luck. So I'm very pleased that that is something that we're moving forward with. What else have I got? The other thing that I've been talking with Christine about is that we've had some good policies that Jerry and the team of his people have developed, but some of the organisational background systems have not been there, and we're starting to develop some of those now. We've just put in which the board will hear about on Monday, a corrective action process that will allow all complaints and so forth to go through a documented process. Anything that needs to be followed up or any improvements that have been suggested will go into our corrective action system. It's documented, it's in SharePoint, and it will be followed through. And by doing that, it will give us a history as well, which will allow us to go back in time as it develops and see if that sort of problems come up before or if it's frequent. So we're systemising some of the things that perhaps haven't been there before. It's my pleasure also to welcome our new staff and acknowledge David has stayed with us. I'm very pleased that Christine's joined with us. Christine and I happen to have worked together over 20 years ago, but had lost contact until Christine rang me up and said, "I hear there's a job." And Christine, I think I was Vice President of Leisure Co Australia at the time, and so we have worked together before, and I was very pleased that she wanted to come and work with us. I'd also like to mention Jerry. Jerry was great help to me when I came in, knowing very little. I came here with a background of probably nearly 40 years on boards, and so, but was not anywhere near having an understanding of the detail about CF, and Jerry helped me greatly during all of that time. What else do I have to say? I think that's probably all, unless someone has some questions, I'm happy to answer. What I will say is wish you all the best for the Christmas season, and hope you and your families can get together and enjoy a safe and great Christmas. And unless there's any questions, I think that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, well, one of the reasons that we've sort of embarked upon this, we're going to do them quarterly. I call them President's Briefings, but they could actually be called anything else, not quite sure. But to have these opportunities for members to come in face to face and to hear what we're up to, hear what we're doing. We're also talking to a number of people on the live stream as well, and that is to give the opportunity just to ask questions if you've got any questions. So I don't want to put the very small number of members here under any pressure, but is there anybody got a question?
I just want to make a point that systems have been in place in the past, but because of the changeover of staff and board members, they get lost along the way. So it's not like we've never had them before. They have been there, but they've been lost.
Yep.
And they're also very manual.
Yeah. Right.
So
there's been a lot of change, obviously, and that's just simply moving here has taken a lot of staff time to simply get us into a new place without a lot of history available to us. Only David can sort of give us history at the moment on the staff, but it's I think there's a really good future for where we're going. I think we're finding our place in the community as well, and we have funds in a trust fund that we can apply to different requirements as well. So I think we're in a very good position. We've got a national president's meeting on Saturday morning, and so we'll be talking about that. There is, I think, a desire to get the national body more involved, and of course the national body's got a new president who I chatted to the other day. So things are changing quite a lot with the organisation, but I think it's got a great future. If there's no questions, I think we might be time for morning tea.
well, two things. We do have morning tea for everyone that's here, and if you wanted to pop upstairs and have a look at our offices where they are, so that when you ring us, you've got a bit of a mind's picture about where you're coming into.
Just want to tell people thank you.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure one of the staff would be happy to go up with you and show you around. The
Just
question from
just
Gloria.
Before you finish, would you like to cover the different areas of advocacy we're currently involved in?
Currently, we're involved in the Trikafta PBS listing, but we've also had conversations with a number of the clinicians. I think we met recently with the transplant team as well, and we do have a list of advocacy points that we would like to pursue on behalf of members in that area as well.
And the other thing is that we had morning tea with Mrs. Lay at Government House.
We did.
Earlier this year, and we also had a presentation to
State Parliament.
State Parliament earlier this year, where Rihanna gave a very, very good presentation. And Zoe also gave a great presentation.
Yes, I think this presentation, that we've made presentations to Parliament before, but largely we've made presentations, it seems to me, about what is CF and how does it work. So we've been using the offices of our good friends, the CF clinicians. This time I just decided maybe we'll just talk about, well, what's the impact? Let's talk about some lived experience. So Rihanna was gracious enough, at very short notice I must say, to step in and to talk to us about, what are some of the issues for someone who's raising a child with CF. We also were assisted by Zoe Foskett, who talked about what it's like to live with CF. So Zoe's 18, and she also wanted to talk about what being listed on Trikafta meant to her. And I have to say that the comment that sort of made me kind of go was, it allows me to be 18. I can hang out with my friends. I can go to the movies.
What was really interesting, there was several politicians followed up after the event as well.
Yes.
And contacted us about different areas, particularly at the time we were looking for a new premises, and they were trying to help us. We looked at several properties that we may have been able to get at no cost, none of which were suitable, unfortunately, but at least they are aware of us and they were trying to help. And we have those contacts in Parliament now that we can go back to and follow up with as well. So.
Well, in fact, they just, John Daly's office just rang me about 3 weeks ago just to say, so how's it going? So I think that's a good connection to have. So thank you to both Zoe and Rihanna for being our warriors on the day, to actually just tell it like it actually is from a perspective of lived experience. I thought that was very powerful.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Well, perhaps our morning teas will be here very shortly. I can see them arriving out there. They look delicious. For those of you who are listening in on the live stream, we'd like to thank you for your participation in the event. We're hoping that the quality of the streaming is enabling you to hear everything. We'd really like to hear from you if it's not, or of course we'd love to hear from you if it is, and it's been a valuable thing for you. And for those who are in the room today, I think we'll now move on out to some morning tea, an opportunity to mingle and to get that cup of tea or coffee you've ordered earlier. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.